Hello and welcome to Dave Displays Model Behavior. In the last video we did Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, and quite frankly with the number of villains in that display it would have been a bit of a mugging. So let's even the odds a little bit, and this time we're going to look at Spider-Man's street level allies. Now I'm going to start this video with something a little bit unexpected, which is the Red Hulk, or Rulk to his friends. Now, I know what you're thinking. David, you handsome aficionado of all things Marvel Legends, the Red Hulk isn't a classic Spider-Man ally, and you know what? You're right, he isn't. But you know what he is? Is a really cool looking figure. And you know what? He has teamed up with Spider-Man on a number of occasions in some pretty cool stories actually. So in this instance, I'm going to include him. My main reason for wanting to include him right off the bat is because he is a nice big figure, and the problem with doing a lot of street level characters is they all tend to be human. They're all a very similar size, a similar kind of build, so none of them really stand out too much when they get clustered together. So in order to do a dynamic display, I want to throw in some big tall characters to go with the more average sized ones. So the Red Hulk has featured in quite a few Spider-Man stories over the years. A very prominent one was Ends of the Earth, where it's a whole big international adventure taking on Doc Ock. And when you start to do a little bit more homework and research into the character, you'll see he pops up quite a lot. It actually makes me feel very old when I think how long the Red Hulk has been around. He's not as modern as I like to think. He had a crossover with Agent Venom, who's going to be appearing later in this video. They had some big satanic crossover with Ghost Rider and a few others. So he's pretty well established and he doesn't look too out of place with some of the better known Spider-Man allies. And I'm glad that in my own personal headcanon I could justify putting the Hulk in the collection because he's such a striking figure. I think he is a great centerpiece to any display that you're going to build. I mean, he's just got this great sculpt with the gnarly looking face and the design work that's gone into the scowl and that sort of rampaging look. It's just great. And the character himself has this amazing backstory where, you know, he was General Ross, but, you know, it was meant to be a mystery, so he didn't have any of his defining features. No moustache, no aviators. But then Ross gets killed and there's a new Red Hulk who has a moustache and aviators. And when I first saw him, I was like, oh, they're just playing into it being General Ross. And then it turns out, actually, no, psych! It's not General Ross, it's a completely different guy who just so happens to look exactly the same as the deceased general. He's a great figure and he comes with some clenched fists as well, so you've got some variety in how you compose him. My only bone of contention is the shoulders are very sort of big and prominent. It looks like they stick out very wide, almost like a Toy Biz sculpt. And the other Hulks don't have the problem so much because they have the shirts that cover up his gigantic deltoids, so they don't stand out so much. But besides that, he's fantastic. Also, this character has a very unique power set where the angrier he gets, the hotter he physically becomes. He begins to burst into flames, which is very surprising then that Hasbro didn't include any kind of flame effects to set him off, which is a shame. But one character that does have flame effects is the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure, who is not the most popular figure in the world. So a lot of people have been very quick to repurpose his flames onto the Red Hulk. I only had the back piece, but there it goes. I think it sets him off quite nicely. Now, since the gimmick of this video is all about the art of the display, I'll show you a little trick that I use for my displays. It's not really a trick. I don't think Doctor Strange would be very impressed, but it's a nice little idea, I think. I use these little glass risers, which are actually just creme brulee dishes. But I pop him up on there, it gives a little bit more elevation because I'm going to go for a multi-tiered look, so we have these different levels and it's going to look like these characters are just going to be exploding off the shelf. It should look pretty cool, hopefully. And joining Red Hulk in this display, we're going to have our first symbiote joining the team, and who else could it be but Agent Venom, Flash Thompson. This is one of my favorite modern characters. I really love what they did in an industry where characters don't really tend to change or evolve much. There is a status quo that's always maintained. Flash Thompson really went through these, incredible arcs. He was a jock, and then he was Peter's friend. He, was inspired by Spider-Man. He joined the army. He lost his legs. He became a super spy, a superhero, and and he was eventually killed off, which was a real shame because I loved the character, but I also love the fact that, you know, his life had consequences and it didn't just maintain this, you know, same status quo. Granted, this is Marvel, so goodness only knows how long until he returns. There's probably a countdown timer somewhere, just ticking down until the inevitable resurrection. But until they do that, I love the story that was told and for him. Mold, this sculpt, is a really nice one. It's a little bit older, but the detailing is terrific. He's got these kind of beetly insect type armor plates, which looks like something straight out of National Geographic. I really dig that, and even though all of his belt buckles and pouches, they're all molded on, you can't really do anything with them, at a glance they look really nice. What would have also been really nice would have been if the character had like some shading. It's just black, which is fair enough. I mean, so is the character in the comics, but it would be good if they could just mix it up a little bit. But that's only a small gripe, because considering he's got the tendrils coming out the back, he's got the extra guns as well, he's what I would consider to be a complete figure. Except, where's the Flash Thompson head? Come on, that's something that would really make a big difference, would be if we had an unmasked Flash Thompson head that we could put on there. That would have been the icing on the cake, especially considering that we did get a sneaky re-release in the Anti-Venom colours, and they didn't throw in an extra head, so that's one thing that's missing. But besides that, double thumbs up to the Agent Venom. And he deserves a great figure to go with his great comic book story. It was just so nuanced and layered. He went through such a character trajectory from being this jock who you just, was so unlikable and a bully, to being someone who you understand. You found out about his backstory, how he suffered from, an abusive father, and that molded his behavior, to the point that, Peter began to understand, why he was the way he was. And it showed a lot about Peter Parker's character, because he empathized with Flash and allowed a friendship to grow between them. And, Flash started to idolize Spider-Man. And even then, when he was trying to, be as good as he could be to emulate his hero, he was still struggling with things like addiction and alcoholism, which the Venom book really did a great job of touching on. I loved the Agent Venom story because it was very dark, it told a great human interest story with amazing action, fantastic. So yeah, he deserved to be represented in a great Marvel legend. Oh, would you look at my wrist? It's been nearly 10 minutes and I've done 2 figures. That's a new record. I think this is going to be a long series. So I'm going to cut this one off now, and I hope that you'll all join me back here pretty soon. When exactly? Soon, I promise. Like, share, and subscribe. Then you'll get notified when the next video comes out. And you can see which characters are going to be joining Red Hulk and Agent Venom on the Spider-Man Ally shelf.